So these are some images that I often show a class that I teach at DePaul. It's called Writing Diversity Here and Now. And I have the class write 6-word memoirs about their family's immigration and identity stories. And these are images of my mother's parents. And these are images from Park City, Utah, where they settled. Again, my grandfather was a miner, silver miner in Park City for 30 years. And they lived on this incredibly steep hill in the Mexican part of Park City, Utah. And so these are just some images of them when their children were very young, and a picture of them when they were older, and me when I was in my 20s, I think, just visiting them. So this photograph of my family, my mother's family, evokes just a lot of emotion and meaningfulness for me when I think about like who I am and where I come from. And in particular, my grandfather, who was a silver miner in Park City, Utah for 30 years and had such a difficult life. His was a life of labor, of laboring, and he rarely spoke. He was just kind of this tired, solid presence at the end of the day. So many of my first poems are about him. So I thought I'd share one. This is called In the Religion of Horses. In the religion of horses, trail rides are nose to rear funeral marches, horse heads asking why, each bobbed step. Everything they say, a high, short cry. Let us consider what it is to have a horse named Pedro, my grandfather's name. Not a horse done up in ribbons, but a horse like my grandfather with no religion. He runs trying to shake his rider because he knows things he cannot say. So when I think about, writing, editing, and teaching books and how that has inspired me, I think about the literary imagination and the fact that it trains you in specificity, which basically enhances our ability to love, to not think of others as other. And when I think about my favorite writers like Pablo Neruda, I think about Pablo Neruda's memoirs. And again, I often use this quote when I talk to classes about, immigration and the importance of diversity and of acceptance. I want to live in a world where beings are only human, with no title but that, without worrying their heads about a rule, a word, a label. I want people to be able to go into all the churches, to all the printing presses. I don't want anyone ever again to wait at the mayor's office door to arrest and deport someone else. I want everyone to go in and come out of City Hall smiling. I want the great majority, the only majority, everyone to be able to speak out, read, listen, thrive. I have never understood the struggle except as something to end all struggle. I have never understood hard measures except as something to end hard measures. I still have absolute faith in human destiny, a clearer and clearer conviction that we are approaching a great common tenderness.
If we peel back our skin, it is red and bleeds the same. Though I don't look like you and you don't look like me, I know that internally we are flesh and bone, yet externally we are pigment and judgment.
Though you don't look like me and I don't look like you, I know that with every protest and petition, the future becomes clear. Externally, we're pigment and judgment, guided by our insecurities and fears.
With every protest and petition, the future becomes clear, the tally of systemic endings, this feast of famine, guided by our insecurities and fears into the childhood of a nation, its ancient breakings.
Tally of systemic endings, this feast of famine, never to be satisfied until justice is secured for the disenfranchised. into the childhood of a nation, its ancient breaking. A history that we haven't truly acknowledged.
Never to be satisfied until justice is secured for the disenfranchised, dismantling a system of oppression and a history that we haven't truly acknowledged. Building racism was intentional, and so must be its disassembly.
Dismantling a system of oppression and lifting weights off backs carrying the burdens of time gone and coming. Building racism was intentional, and so must be its disassembly, with tools that break the chains without harming the person shackled.
Lifting weights off backs carrying the burdens of time gone and coming. Embracing an unrelenting necessity, no momentary movement, with tools that break the chains without harming the person shackled. Solidarity in every action, intent in every word.
Embracing an unrelenting necessity, no momentary movement. Becoming both the next victim and advocate. Self-sacrificing. Solidarity in every action, intent in every word. Detailing every movement as our open source try not to become infected.
Becoming both the next victim and advocate, self-sacrificing, risking infection just to get the point across that Black people have been silenced for too long, detailing every moment as our open source try not to become infected, letting the fires that burn bright in the street burn as a beacon, signaling this country's need for change.
Risking infection just to get the point across that Black people have been silenced for too long. Debate of all lives can't matter until Black lives can echoes into the hearts and minds of oppressors. Letting the fires that burn bright in the street burn as a beacon, signaling this country's need for change. In exchange, superficial solidarity. Wakanda forever as the blueprint for ignorance.
Debate of all lives can't matter until Black lives can echoes in the hearts and minds of our oppressors. Black folks wait desperately to see the light bulb turn on, in exchange for their superficial solidarity, Wakanda forever as the blueprint for ignorance. Your false solidarity masks our cries for equity.
Black folks wait desperately to see the light bulb turn on, to see bright sparks in the sky, an explosion of true emancipation. False solidarity masks cries for equity, and sirens suffocate birdsong, that shrill chirping, a constant reminder that something's amiss, that the world is too sore to sing.
So when I think about our country's movement towards autocracy, I think mostly about a failure of the literary imagination. And I think about one of my favorite poets, Pablo Neruda, who believed that if we did have faith in the literary imagination, there would be a movement towards a greater common tenderness.